Well, tonight we really take on event 53, but it's really multiple parts of 53. It evidently all occurred in Capernaum and likely at Peter's house. But there's several subjects that are dealt with here tonight. The first one that we're going to take tonight and do the others in the previous and coming nights is who is the greatest. And we find it in three Gospels: Matthew 18, Mark 9, and Luke 9. And the thing that you need to understand is that the disciples, according to Luke, were arguing amongst themselves who was the greatest. Obviously, Cassius Clay wasn't there at the time of the argument, but nevertheless, we have, or Muhammad Ali, if you prefer that name. But we have Jesus knowing what they've been doing, what they've been arguing about. And he deals with the subject pretty head on. He's asking them what they're arguing about, what they're talking about, and he uses a child as an illustration, but he also uses terminology that I think they would remember at the last Passover meal that they celebrated with Jesus, as nobody wanted to wash anybody's feet at that meal. But anyway, we come to this, who is the greatest? Their disciples are clearly been arguing about this. Jesus clearly knows they've been arguing about this, knows their thoughts and their motives, and knows all about what's going on. And he clearly says to them, the one that wants to be the greatest is going to have to be the least. The one who is last is going to be first. The one who is humble and becomes a servant is the one that will really be pleasing to God and will be greatest in the kingdom. And he then takes a child in front of him and he says, if you receive a child like this, you receive me, but you also receive the Father. And he also warns them, if you're a stumbling block to one of these, that there's grave consequences. He actually talks about a fiery hell being the consequences of being a stumbling block to those that want to believe, the little children. And he then deals with a number of other subjects. He deals with the cost of discipleship. He deals with the fact that there's forgiveness that's necessary. He deals with the lost sheep, leaving 99 to find one. He deals with forgiveness and the offended brother and how to deal with being offended. He deals with a lot of subjects here that we'll take one at a time. But he says some really strong things here in Matthew and in Mark. He is very, very clear. He says, if your hand offends you, or your hand does evil, it'd be better to cut off your hand and enter into heaven with just one hand than to continue that course. Or if one foot, one eye. This is one of those hard sayings: pluck the eye out and cast it away, rather than to miss out on heaven and to find the eternal fire. So it's a very, very strong teaching about humility, about servanthood. And why did I say the last Passover meal? Well, because none of them were humble enough to get the towel and wash one another's feet, which was the custom of the day before they participated in the Passover meal. And Jesus himself had to set the example by washing the disciples' feet. And so here's a problem for all of us that serve Christ, that we need to be careful about our pride. We need to be careful about demanding our rights. We need to be careful that we treat one another with respect and honor, and that we become humble servants of Christ and receive people as little children, and not be stumbling block to them when it comes to their faith by being puffed up with pride or lack of forgiveness, or being able to take an offense and hold it inside of us. We'll deal with this more tomorrow and in the coming days, because there are a number of points that Jesus makes all in the same conversation with his disciples in Peter's home. And that's my thought for the day. Humble yourself. Become a servant of Christ. And don't be a stumbling block for anyone else. And that's my thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.